problem, it is been defining these two major industry level problems, storage and processing. In storage, again, two more problems. In processing, two more problems. Okay, now you can ask me, Gopal, we all came for Hadoop, but you have started with something else called big data and its problems and so on. How exactly this keyword Hadoop is correlated with your discussion of big data? Yeah, valid question. So when you say big data is a problem which is defining the industry level problems, Hadoop is one of the major solution to overcome the same kind of the problem. So when you say big data is a problem, Hadoop is a solution to address the same kind of the problems. Both big data and Hadoop are not at all same. One is defining the industry level problems. Hadoop is providing the solution how to overcome the same kind of the problems. That is how the difference between big data and Hadoop. Okay, now, so just to throw a light on each and every one of these V at a high level, the very first problem is with respect to storage. So in storage, volume. Okay, so what volume meaning size of the data you better know. Sir, if you look at in the real world, the sizes of the different volumes, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, petabytes, hexabytes, zettabytes, yottabytes, bronobytes, and sottabytes. These many volumes of the data we are having in the real world market. But not every volume of the data we used to call it as big data. No. So there should be a classification. So what do you mean by the term big data? The amount of data which cannot be managed under normal storage systems is big data. Okay, the amount of data which cannot be managed under normal storage systems is nothing but a big data. Just some examples. If at all you look at Google, sorry, before I can go ahead with the same, if you look at Oracle, in the RDBMS category only, if you look at some of the solutions, Oracle database, DB2 database, MS SQL Server database, MySQL database, and so on. Okay, so in all these particular databases, the maximum amount of the data what we can manage here is gigabytes only. And there is one more other solution called Teradata. In Teradata also, you can manage up to terabytes kind of the data. Oracle apps, here also you can manage up to terabytes kind of the data. There is a IBM product called Netija. Okay, so there is a IBM product called Netija. So here also up to terabytes kind of the data you can manage. Okay, yeah, fine. So now here in all these solutions, what is the maximum amount of the data that we can manage here? Either gigabytes or terabytes only. Okay, so that is what the amount of the data what we are going to manage. Okay, now, so here what I'm trying to say, if at all you look at the above volumes also, in order to manage up to terabyte scales of the data, we are having so many solutions. That is why we used to call this particular data as small data. This is the small data. However, to store petabytes and more than petabytes kind of the data, there is not even a single solution. That's where this particular data only we used to call it as big data. You look at the above definition one more time. The amount of data which cannot be managed under normal storage systems. These are all the normal storage systems what we are using in our projects. Here in any one of these solutions, you cannot store petabytes, exabytes or more than that. So that is why it is the big data. Okay, yeah. Now if you ask me, Gopal, where exactly we are using this much of the huge quantity of the data in the real world case studies? If there is no usage, there is no point in discussing all these things. But where exactly we are using that much of the huge quantity of the data, you can ask me. So if you look at Google's organization, there per monthly basis only they were using more than 400 petabytes kind of the data. Facebook, one of the world famous search engine, sorry, social media website. So here, per one day itself, they were using more than 10 petabytes of the data per one day. Likewise, eBay, one of the consumer and electronic website. Here also, more than 250 petabytes kind of the data per month on an average. If you all watch the movie Avatar, in order to produce one single graphical effect only 1 petabyte of the data. Okay, so the whole movie itself is based out of graphics only. You only just think about what is the total volume of the data they might have consumed. And you need not to look at all these Hollywood movies and all. Bahubali 1 and 2 series combinedly. I know it is not out and out graphics oriented movies. 50 petabytes of the data they have used as far as the visual graphical effects concerned. And Aadhaar, one of the most prestigious Indian based project. In Aadhaar project as well, our Indian government has used 160 petabytes of the data till last year only. And if you look at Picasso, where we are uploading all our photographs and also there, also more than 180 petabytes kind of the data per month on an average. And if you look at LinkedIn, Yahoo, Twitter, YouTube, in all these so-called social media websites also, more or less 200 petabytes kind of the data per month on an average they are all using. So likewise, if I keep on elaborating the case studies, our time is not good enough. So the point here is day by day the volume of the data is keep on increasing only. If you look at next year the same use cases, it may get doubled or tripled or even more as well. But if you look at next year, by next year, after 10 years, 20 years, Oracle database capacity is only gigabytes. Teradata capacity is terabytes only. Netezza capacity is terabytes only. So the point here, what I'm trying to say, your storage capacity is very, very limited. This much of the data only they can store. But meanwhile, your size of the data is exponentially increasing in the real world market. Your size of the data is day by day exponentially increasing in the real world market. So if at all I want to fit this data or this data in our limited storage, I can do that. But how can I fit this much of the huge quantity of the data in the limited storage engine here? That is what the practical challenge what we are facing in the real world. Only the data size is increasing erroneously, but the data storage capacity is only going to be very, very, very limited. So that is the practical challenge with respect to volume. In the similar lines, in the big data storage only, there is one more other problem called different varieties of the data. In the storage only, the second problem would be varieties. What do you mean by varieties? Different types of the data. Different types of data. Here when I say volume, size of the data. Okay, yeah. Now what do you mean by different types of the data? Sir, if you look at the different varieties, the data varieties only, it is been divided into three categories. The very first one is structured data. Second one is semi-structured data. Third one is unstructured data. Okay, so here when I say structured data, any data that can be stored in the tabular format. For example, in RDBMS, you are creating a table called employee table. Here, what is the schema? Employee ID, which is an integer primary key as well. Employee name, which is a varchar of 60. Employee salary, which is of integer. So this is the schema you define. But if at all the data, whatever I am going to store it over here, in the employee ID field only, let us say I am going to store Roja. So it is a string type of the data. Alpha, sir, it is a varchar kind of the string type of the data. Can I go and store this particular data in the integer type of the data type? No. It will throw an error. So that is what I'm saying. If at all our data and table schema, if both are not in sync, you cannot manage the data. Our data and the table schema both should be in sync. Then only I can manage the data in the tabular format. So any data which is going to be stored with some schema in the tabular format, that is what we used to call structured data. Okay, next. XML files, Microsoft Excel files, delimited files, JSON kind of data. These are all the very good examples of semi-structured data. Sir, when you open the XML, root tag, child tag, subchild tag, so there is some structure defined, but it is neither structured nor unstructured. It is only semi. If you look at the Excel file, for example, so in the Excel file also, if you look at the Excel file, it is also looking like a table. But here what we can do, here I can store employee ID, here employee name, employee address, employee image, any kind of the data I can store it over here. There is no issue. Okay, so Excel comes under semi-structured kind of the data. When I say delimited files, comma separated files, pipe delimited files, tab separated, any kind of the log files you look at, delimited log files, semi-structured. Coming back to JSON, so nowadays it's one of the very popular example, JavaScript object notation. Internally, it is going to manage the data in the key value format. Okay, now coming back to unstructured data. So here, image files, video files, CCTV footages, audio files, Sensex log data, stock exchange data, Word document, PDF document, okay, zip files kind of the data, Google Maps kind of the maps data, emails data, WhatsApp data, SMS data. Likewise, this list is very huge. So likewise, these are all comes under unstructured variety of the data. But sir, try to understand structured kind of the data is only 5% in the real world market. Only 5%. Whereas this particular semi and unstructured data combinedly, it is more than 95% of the data. Semi-structured and unstructured kind of the data is going to be more than 95% kind of the data. Because if you look at nowadays, there are so many technology trends happen. Hardly you can find a person who is not making use of a mobile phone. And in those particular usage also, more than 60 to 70% of the people are exclusively using the smartphones only. So if at all you are using a smartphone, whatever the happening in the entire universe, within the seconds and minutes only you will access the data. So that is what the power of this smartphone. So because of this rigorous usage of the data, huge quantity of the data is already produced in the market, but we don't know how to store that much of the data. And one more other problem is, in that huge quantity of the data, more than 95% of the data is semi-structured and unstructured. I don't know how to store this particular data. If at all it is a structured data, yes, we can store. Sir, is my voice clear or is it breaking?
Yeah, it's good. Good.
Sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So whoever is having the problem with my voice, please try to log out and again log in, sir. So there won't be any issue. Yeah. So in order to store this 5% of the data, I can use the Oracle database table. I can use this, SQL Server table. There are plenty of solutions. It is okay. But what about this bigger quantity of 95% of the data? That is what the practical challenge, what we are facing. So the problem is not only with respect to the huge quantity of the data, size of the data, rather, along with that, we are also having the problem with respect to different varieties of the data as well. So these are the two practical challenges with respect to big data storage. Very first one is volume. Second one is varieties. So these are the two practical challenges. Okay, very good. So, okay, storage point of view, these are the problems. What about processing? First of all, we have to understand what do you mean by processing. Okay, yeah, look at here, sir. For example, I have some 1 terabyte of the raw data, which is a completely employee data. So I want to apply some processing logic on the same data. what exact data I wanted to retrieve? Employees who are all based out of Hyderabad and Chennai location, whose annual salary is above 40 lakhs. That data only we need to retrieve. So I am applying some query or whatever it is, a logic I am going to apply on the same data. In return, we are getting only 400 MB of the data. That is the resultant data what I am going to see here. Okay, so here by applying a logic on the raw data, retrieving the required data is nothing but processing. Either you can use Java, C++, C, .NET, Informatica, data stage, any kind of the processing tools that are available in the market. Any kind of the tools you can use. The problem here is they can only do handle the limited amount of the data only. If at all you are saying, sorry, processing, in the big data processing only, the first challenge would be the third one, velocity. Velocity is nothing but performance, or with what speed we are going to retrieve the results. This is what we can say velocity. So either you are using C language or C++ or Java or .NET or ETL technologies, Informatica, data stage, SAP, or so on, whatever the list it can be. They can only handle the kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes. That's it. Even terabytes also system will hang. No, no chance. And that too structured data, and only few varieties of the semi-structured data only. Not all JSON or Excel kind of the data. No. So if at all this is the volume and these are the varieties, okay, I can use the above technology stack. But our problem statement is our volume of the data is not only gigabytes. We are having terabytes, petabytes, hexabytes, or even more. How can I handle this much of the huge amount of data? And along with this particular structured, good amount of the semi-structured varieties we are getting, and unstructured variety of the data also we are getting. How can I handle these many varieties of the data? These are the practical challenges with respect to our current technologies in the market to process the data. So that is where, and one more thing is these are the limitations with the technologies. Okay, very good. Now coming back to size of the data. If at all you are having kilobytes of the data, one good example is in RDBMS table, I am only having 10 records. You are saying select star from EMP table. Within the seconds of the time only, you are getting all the results. Seconds of the time only. But if at all you are having 10,000 records, is it possible to retrieve the data in seconds? No. It will take some minutes or sometimes hours also. If at all you are having some lakhs and lakhs of the records, so it might be taking hours, or sometimes it may take days as well. Terabytes kind of, millions and trillions of the records, days, or it might be taking weeks as well. Likewise, petabytes, it will be more. So the point here what I'm trying to convey, as and when the size of the data has been increasing, on the other way, it is having the impact on the speed of the processing. So if at all you look at, whenever I have a very small quantity of the data with a excellent speed, I'm going to retrieve my data. But whenever you have some huge quantity of the data, definitely you will observe the slowness in the processing, meaning both volume and velocity are inversely proportional to each other. Both this particular size of the data and speed of retrieving the data you look at, both are inversely proportional to each other. So if you take real world customer, Walmart, so these kind of the Walmart are best by, okay, any of these real world customer, their expectation is even though the amount of the data is drastically increased, you might be getting different varieties of the data. Chodo, I don't mind, but I wanted to see my results with a very good performance only. In a very quick span of time only, I want to see my results. Okay, so that is how customer tendency is going to be. In that regard, our technology stack, whatever is available, they are not good enough to address this particular problem. So that is what the practical challenge what we have been facing, and that too why these technologies are giving the limited speed only. The reason is limited RAM speed we are using. Why we are using the limited RAM speed? Because if at all 4 GB of the RAM speed you are purchasing. The cost is 2000 rupees only. That's good. But in order to increase the speed of the processing, for example, I am downloading a Bahubali movie, but my RAM speed is only 4 GB. It is taking for me 59 minutes of the time. For example, to download the entire movie, it will take 59 minutes of the time for me. But I don't want to wait that much of the time. So now I am using 4 TB of the RAM speed. Okay, 4 TB of the RAM speed. So we are going to retrieve the data within the 1 second of time only, for example. But what is the cost of 4 terabytes of the RAM speed? Approximately 2 lakh rupees. So the point here is, in order to increase the speed of the processing, you have to increase the RAM speed. To increase the RAM speed, you have to invest more cost. But nowadays, every customer is saying, boss, we don't have money. Go and make use of some open source technologies only. That is what the tendency of the customer. And not only this, limited network bandwidth speed. Limited network bandwidth speed. So if at all you are using kilobytes per second, it will take ages to retrieve all your data. So I would like to use gigabytes per second, for example. So here also you have to pay more cost. So increasing the RAM speed cost or increasing this particular, whatever the other cost of what network bandwidth speed also, it is completely having the problem of this particular cost related burden only. So that is where what I'm trying to say, in the way of increasing this particular data and all, there is a lot of bandwidth related problem. There is a lot of problem on the cost related burdens as well. So here what we are trying to say, it is not as simple as we are going to increase the data increase the volume kind of this stuff. Okay, so here the speed is very very limited because of the same reason. Okay, now even though volume of the data is anonymously increasing, different varieties of the data we keep on getting, but speed is very limited. And in the similar way, in the processing orientation only, veracity is the another problem. Veracity meaning consistency. Okay, so what do you mean by that? If at all my volume of the data is kilobytes or megabytes, I'm getting the very good consistency. But whenever it reaches to terabytes, petabytes, exabytes and all, there is a huge impact on the consistency. Consistency meaning in one run we are getting one particular output. In a different run, I'm getting a different output kind of. So if that is the case, we are all been facing the problem here. So that is where what I'm trying to say. Here veracity is also one of the other challenge with respect to the big data problems. Sir, these are the different big data problems what we are facing. To overcome the same kind of the problems only, there are two major solutions we are having in the market. The very first one is Hadoop. To overcome these big data related problems only, meaning storage and processing related problems only, we are having. First solution is Hadoop, second solution is Hadoop ecosystem components. Okay, so these are the two solutions. Yeah. So what exactly this Hadoop has been doing? So if you ask me, Hadoop is meant for dual purposes. Look at here, sir. Hadoop is meant for dual purposes. The very first one is storage. Second one is processing. Sir, using any other technology in the market, either C technology, Java, C++, .NET, they are only meant for processing. If you look at our RDBMS tables, our file system, C drive, E drive, D drive, or Google Drive, so these are only meant for processing. Unlike the other technologies in the market, Hadoop is exclusively meant for dual purposes: big data storage and big data processing. In one technology itself, we are going to address two major aspects, and that too, Hadoop is a open source framework. It's a very very important point. What do you mean by open source framework? There is no cost associated to Hadoop framework. It is completely freeware. So as far as storage part of the data is concerned, we are making use of HDFS here. Okay, HDFS component we have been using here. What is the full form of HDFS? Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, next. If you look at processing, okay, so what is the component that we are using for processing part of the data? That is going to be MapReduce. Okay, HDFS is meant for storage, MapReduce is meant for processing part of the data. So what is the advantage of HDFS? Whether your amount of the data is kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, petabytes, exabytes, zettabytes, yottabytes, or even more. Any volume of the data you can store over here very well. So there is no limitation for the amount of the data what we can store over here. And then whether it is a structured data, whether it is a semi-structured data, or whether it is a unstructured data completely, any kind of the any variety of the data also perfectly we can store. Any volume or any varieties I can store here very well. So that is what the advantage of this particular data. And coming back to MapReduce, so basically MapReduce is a distributed and parallel processing tool of Hadoop. So meaning to say, by the means of this distributed and parallel processing, meaning we are only having the data in one, if at all you are having the whole data in one mission, it will take a lot of time. We have to access all the records one by one and you have to process it. But if at all the same data is being distributed across the multiple missions, so that you can apply the distributed and parallel processing. Parallel processing meaning at the same time we can start the processing in all the nodes. For example, if at all there is a running race happening, he will say 1 2 3 start running, so all the people will start running at the same time. In the similar way here also, in different nodes we are having the data. In all the nodes also we are starting the processing at the same time. The data got already distributed and you are processing the data also at the same point of time. So because of this distributed parallel processing, both velocity and veracity related problems perfectly been addressed over here. So that is what the advantage. So even though, sorry, yeah, using Hadoop, we are perfectly going to address all these particular 4V's related problem: volume, varieties, velocity, and veracity. So Hadoop meaning it is the combination of HDFS and MapReduce. HDFS and MapReduce. Okay, very good. Now coming back to, then why, if at all you are happy with Hadoop itself, why we have to use Hadoop ecosystem tools? So there is a small problem with respect to MapReduce. What is that? Yeah, look at here, sir. Nobody is using this MapReduce in the real world because it's completely out of scope only, because nowadays people are not using. The reason is it requires some programming skills as well, object oriented programming skills knowledge we should require in order to drive the MapReduce processing. Okay, but that is the only reason. If at all you don't have any programming background, you cannot use. That is the only reason. 0.0001% also nobody is using this MapReduce in the real world. In that place only we are making use of so many ecosystem tools. What is the beauty of these ecosystem tools? Here you don't require any programming knowledge and all. In a completely non-programming model only, non-programming manner only, meaning by using SQL basic commands only. SQL basic commands knowledge only, you can drive the complete processing using these ecosystem tools or non-programming tools as well. Say for example, if you say Apache Pig, it is one of the scripting language what we are using. Here we are using the SQL basic commands knowledge only. And when you say Hive, basically it is a data warehouse kind of the tool. Okay, so here we are going to make use of Hive QL, meaning by using, like SQL full form is structured query language. Likewise here, Hive query language. By using this query mechanism kind of this stuff, you are able to process the data. And the third one is Scoop. What is the full form? SQL on Hadoop. So that is what the full form. Basically, it is one of the integration tool in order to import the data from RDBMS to Hadoop. and in order to export the data from Hadoop to RDBMS. So in order to do this integration between Hadoop and RDBMS only, we are using the scoop component. Next one is HBase to achieve the random access. In order to read the data in a random fashion, write the output data, process the data also in a random fashion, we are making use of HBase component. And Woozy. Woozy is basically one of the scheduling tool, meaning when the project is moving to the production environment, we will not run the scripts in a manual fashion. We need some scheduling tools like cron job, autosys, controlium. How exactly we are using these scheduling tools in the other technologies. Likewise, Woozy is one of the proprietary scheduling tool from our Hadoop. Yeah, next, Flume. In order to bring the copy the live streaming data to Hadoop file system HDFS, we are using Flume. Basically, Flume is one of the data ingestion tool in Hadoop. That is what we are using. Okay, next, Kafka. So Kafka is one of the distributed messaging tool. So basically in our Swiggy, Zomato, Uber cabs, in all these real world applications, internally we are making use of this particular Kafka tool only to achieve the many to many kind of the messaging environment. Next, last one is Yarn, at another resource negotiator. The full form of Yarn is at another resource negotiator. In Hadoop, if at all altogether we have three versions of Hadoop, 1.x, 2.x and 3.x version. Especially from 2.x version only, the architecture of our processing has been changed. Priority based request processing. Priority based request processing. So that is what we are doing using our Yarn architecture. So these are the total 10 components. HDFS and MapReduce 2 components, and these are the 8 components. Altogether 10 components. What we are going to discuss in our 2 months of the Hadoop course curriculum. Not only that, Spark basics also I am going to provide here. What is this Spark? So Spark is only meant for big data processing. So Hadoop is meant for both storage and processing. You know that very well. Hadoop is meant for both storage and processing, whereas Spark is only meant for processing. But why? You can use Hadoop itself to drive the processing part of the data. Then why should I use Spark as well separately? Because if at all Hadoop is doing the processing in 100 minutes of the time, the same processing using Spark within 1 minute of the time only, I can see the same kind of the results. Meaning Spark based processing performance is 100 times faster than Hadoop. So that is what the beauty of Spark processing here. Okay, and here in order to learn this particular course, the prerequisites are only two, sir. Officially two, unofficially three. The very first one is basic SQL commands knowledge. You should require, and second thing is basic Linux commands knowledge. Linux commands knowledge you should require. So these are the two major prerequisites, sir. But both of them I will only provide as part of my classes. Don't worry. Both of them I will only provide in a very minute level. I will discuss the SQL commands and Linux commands as well. And the third one is only in MapReduce. Only in MapReduce we should require the object-oriented programming skills. Oops, knowledge you should require. But I already mentioned in the real world, nobody is practically making use of this MapReduce. It's completely gone. In that place, we are completely making use of these Hadoop ecosystem components only. So if you can completely ignore this particular part also, there is no worry. You can completely ignore this particular third one. Without having any programming knowledge also, we can drive the basic SQL commands and basic Linux commands. As with that only you can learn the Hadoop course as well. And three real-time projects. I'm going to demonstrate in the same course only, because when you're going for any interview, the interviewer will only expect have you implemented any project using this particular Hadoop and Spark technologies. That is what the minimum expectation from industry. So in your resume also, if you are not adding any project, there is no importance given to your profile. So that is the only reason in total South India, Kelly Technologies Gopal's class is the only place where customer specific real time big data projects will be demonstrated. Customer specific big data projects. If you look at any kind of the other thing, okay, if you look at any kind of the other stuff, any kind of the other institutions, people even will not provide the POCs as well, but we are being excelled in our own way. POCs and real world projects also we are been discussing. Okay, so retail domain project we are going to discuss as part of our course. So as part of the same, today itself I am providing the customer name. Lowe's customer project we are discussing. Second one is telecom domain project we have been discussing. So that is what Cisco. And the third one is banking domain customer project, banking and finance. So in this regard also we are going to discuss TD Bank project, Toronto Domino's Bank of Canada. So these are the projects what we are going to discuss in our upcoming classes in a detailed manner by providing the code walkthrough and the very minute level of the documentation as well. I'm going to discuss this particular subject. Okay, yeah. And if you look at the pay packages and the salaries for the big data professionals, even for the brand fresher as well, at this moment, minimum to minimum 6 to 8 lakhs of the package you can very well expect. And for the mid-range experienced guys, with the experience bracket is 3.5 years to 8 years of the experience. Okay, so the pay packages are going to be 13 lakhs to 28 lakhs of the package you can expect here. In one of our recent batch member only, he got placed, whose overall IT experience is 11.5 years of experience. He kept 3 years of Hadoop and Spark experience. Spark, technologies knowledge they have included in the resume. His pay package is 45 lakhs per annum. Within the high-tech city region only he's been working. So why I'm giving all these examples, whenever you are learning this Hadoop and Spark and adding those particular technology stack in your resume, being these are the niche skill sets. Okay, so the demand market is also extremely high. You cannot even compare the pay packages of our big data professionals with any other technology in the market. That's a open secret. Okay, so these are all the things what we are doing, and as a last step, how a big data project can be integrated with cloud technologies. Especially I will take the example of Azure and AWS, Azure or AWS I will take, and how exactly a big data project integration is going to happen with the cloud technologies. That is what I will provide some good pointers as part of the course as well, so that if at all you want to explore on the cloud technologies also, till what extent the knowledge you required. So that part also I will cover in the same course only. Sir, from this particular session, any questions? Feel free to ask me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. Any questions from anyone else?
Hey,
Okay.
yeah. So just I know Yarn, like we use in Node.js. What is the use of Yarn here in big data?
Yarn is a new version of the Hadoop related architecture. So earlier in Hadoop 1.x version, priority based request processing was not there. So that new feature has been implemented as part of our Yarn architecture at another resource negotiator.
No. So my question is like what is the help of Yarn in Hadoop ecosystem?
That is what I'm saying, sir. It is not a specific component as such. If at all you have to drive the Hadoop processing in 2.x version, we are getting
Okay.
some extra provision, extra facility even though we are getting hundreds of the requests as well. For example, your 99th request is a most high priority request. How do we take that particular request in first in place, and how do you process that one? That new architecture only yarn. Got it?
Okay. Mhm. Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone else?
Hi, sir.
Yeah. Hi.
Uh, Sir, right now I'm an integration developer. I have 2 years of experience. So I wanted to upskill myself and start Hadoop. Will I be considered as a fresher or how it goes?
No, 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 no. Fresher meaning like you should be a 2023 passed out or something. But you are
Yeah,
only saying you're already working in the integration platform, and you are already having 2 years of experience. Then how you will be considered as a fresher? But probably if your question is when it comes to Hadoop, I don't know anything. I'm learning this one. How should I project my resume? So that's what probably
yeah,
your question. So
yeah,
in your resume only, we will showcase something like you worked on the big data projects for particular some period of time in your experience only. That is how we will focus. If at all you are a 2023 passed out, by showing some kind of the academic projects or POCs knowledge only you have on Hadoop and Spark, that is how the criteria will be with respect to freshers. So the way of preparing the resume, what particular projects we need to include, how much of the experience that we need to add from Hadoop and Spark, and how exactly we need to add the roles and responsibilities, what specific tools of Hadoop and Spark we are adding. Every minute part I will assist you in a one-on-one manner. So don't worry about that one at this moment.
okay.
So we will
Thank you.
have so Gopal, we will have the one-on-one meetings after the whole section.
Yeah, so as part of this resume preparation, I will give that provision as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi sir, myself Vijay. The content related to the Spark, which are going to discuss as part of this course, will be sufficient to get the job on Spark related requirements.
To crack the interview, yes, more or less it is good enough. But my sincere advice is it is not only just to crack the interviews with some questionnaires and all. Even after you joined the project, also you have to sustain over there. So in that regard, there is a separate Spark weekend batch we are going to start. But of course, for that also you need Hadoop as a prerequisite. Okay, so Spark weekend batch we are going to start. The classes will be only on Saturdays and Sundays. And Saturday 3 hours class, 2.5 hours to 3 hours. Sunday also some 2.5 hours to 3 hours. Likewise, it is also a 2 months program, 8 weekends program. Okay. So if
Okay.
you can take this particular Spark course also, which is a full length course, it is quite advantageable.
So you recommend that we can go with that Spark course once we are done with this course? I mean,
Not
this big.
once done. That's what my point. So certain portion of the Hadoop also we should require definitely in Spark. So you can take both Hadoop and Spark in parallel as well. But as I know what are the dependencies and all, after completing the prerequisites of Hadoop only, we are going to start with the Spark weekend batch so that you can take that Spark weekend batch also in parallel. There is no issue.
Okay.
So do
Okay.
you have any idea? So Gopal, do you have any idea when the other classes will start, like the Spark weekend classes?
That I don't have any clue, sir. Probably you have to get in touch with front office team only. They will give you the exact details when this Spark weekend batch is going to start.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
So Gopal, you are going to handle that weekend batch also?
yeah,
Spark?
yeah. I'm only the trainer for this Spark weekend batch as well. Hadoop and Spark.
Okay. So okay, okay, got you. So the amount of course that needs to be completed as part of this, which is prerequisite to start the Spark, by then you will be starting the Spark over the weekend.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, so probably if you don't have any further questions, we'll stop the
Uh,
session here. It's
Sorry,
9.
Gopal, just one question. So how we can practice this uh, content? And is there any way that we can practice the
Yeah, yeah.
classes?
Our front office team will give you the complete required softwares and all. All our practicals are going to be on the VMware workstation only, on the Linux. Look at here, Ubuntu. On the Ubuntu Linux platform only, we are going to drive all the practicals. The required softwares, everything, print office team will provide you through the Google Drive, and I will assist you in a very minute level how to install these things on your personal laptops. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So even I need to log out, sir. So let us stop the session here. So people who are already attended my previous demos, sincere apologies. Today I couldn't start the session because some other people who don't know the basics of Hadoop as well. That's where I have continued with this basic demo only. So but tomorrow this is not the case. I am getting into the subject. In real world, what are the terminologies that we are going to start? From there itself, I am going to get started with our session. Do not miss out the same. Thank you all. Catch back tomorrow at 8 a.m. Thank you, sir. I'm closing the session.
Thank you.